So, that Tuesday night and the Wednesday, I had a little difficulty sleeping. Like I woke up in a couple of times because I was a little uncomfortable. I don't know whether that was more emotional, or the paranoia of like, oh my God, I'm in pain. Even if I felt a little bit of a twinge. Let me explain to you. The first couple of days, it wasn't exactly I was like 100% pain-free. It was just so much different from what I normally was that I could finally get to sleep. So I go to my Rolfing appointment on last Thursday. And of course, we go over the assessment of how I'm feeling. And very interesting things. My left leg felt very, very heavy. It felt leadened. And not so much as tight as it was, but it just felt very, very heavy. I was actually experiencing more issues on my left side now than on my right side, and the right hip was the thing that was giving me the trouble. Again, my theory was that because my left side is so tight, it makes the right side hurt more. So now I was experiencing this like new type of heaviness in my left side. And you know me, like anything that goes wrong, I immediately think I'm dying. I have cancer of the everything, and I'm paranoid. So so Chuck, assuaged my fears and said it's probably like more like a healing pain, that when you shift things around, things start to work differently, different muscles start to fire or re-engaged, and your body just changes. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to trust you. So we did a very intense session working out that right side, not so much going deep into the right hip. The pain that I experience isn't so much in the psoas as much as it is in the iliacus. And what I learned was that the psoas and the iliacus kind of join. And so that's where my pain is. So it feels like the psoas, because we're familiar with the psoas more, and the psoas stretches. Nobody says stretch your iliacus. But that's sort of where my pain, that tightness, and inflation. Inflammation. That's where the inflammation is probably coming from. So we worked on releasing that, and I did have more freedom and mobility. However, this time leaving, I was in pain. Not like horrible, like give me some good drugs pain. Not like that. But I was tender. And so it was very interesting. I went and hung out with my good friend, and one of my former students, Erica Hand, and I told her about my session, and so she saw me walking, and I was walking kind of freely when we first started hanging out, but as we spent about an hour or two together, I started doing that pitch forward walk because it was very tender, and I think that's my body's fail-safe, go into like that safety zone of pitching forward where my leg doesn't have to freely swing back. So that was my Rolfing session. And then what we decided was that I wouldn't actually go to yoga for a little while, because some of the twisting might be encouraging the SI joint to pop back out. And I kind of get that, especially in the heated room, because I do the Bikram yoga. Once again, Bikram Harlem yoga, holla! Because I do it in a heated room, you're more flexible and you're more open. And so because that joint is so used to being out and those ligaments are kind of stretched, it doesn't really need that much encouragement to come back out. And so we decided that I would maybe take a couple days off to see what happened. So I did, and I love a day off. So I was really happy not to have to suffer in the hot box, but I did feel tight, and I felt very, very fragile, like brittle. Yeah. So, but the thing was, Chuck was like, you have to do your own yoga or stretching at home, which I didn't want to do. So when I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm afraid, when I got afraid enough for the pain to come back, I decided to, roll out the yoga mat and get the balls out and roll in the balls and stretch. And I did about an hour, and I felt restored. And when I say restored, I really mean it. I felt like I got off the table the first time I was Rolfed. So that is my second installment of What a Difference a Rolf Makes, and I'm entitling it One Step Back. But I'm going to say now that it was more like a demi step back. It was like a half step because, it's just about sort of learning how to manage what your body is doing and listening to your body and doing what you need to do. And for me, unfortunately, it's stretching. And so if I want to maintain these sorts of results or support the results, then I'm going to have to get my ass down on the floor and stretch. So I will be checking back in with you. I have a session tomorrow, and maybe a couple days after that, I will either write about it or vlog about it and let you know what is going on with me. In addition, you may have noticed that we started the PT tips, the physical therapy tips, with Shay, who is fantastic. We shot a number of them, and one of the segments that we shot is on body maintenance, and so this is one of the body maintenance things that you can do, and so I might be reenacting or. So Rolfing is one of those things that falls under body maintenance, including massage and acupuncture and stuff like that. We'll talk about all that. But so thanks for tuning in, and thank you for supporting mybodyMyimage.com. Ciao, ciao.